Well, good afternoon. Welcome back. After a long-anticipated home opener, we played well against Cal Poly and then had a week off, and we were able to take that week and really focus on ourselves. It kind of made it an extension of fall camp, continued to work with a lot of the younger guys, gave the guys a little bit of time off over the weekend, and now we're back this afternoon. We'll have our first practice on North Alabama, which it's been fun to watch the first 2 weeks. Even Southern Utah game was really good, although I thought they played a lot better this week in beating Alabama A&M, and so we're excited about the challenge of facing North Alabama coming in here on Saturday. So we'll open it up for questions.
Chris, on the injury front, it looks like Christian is back in. What about Seth?
Yeah, Christian practiced all last week. Seth practiced a little bit and had a little bit of a setback on Thursday, so we'll probably reevaluate him this week. But he'll still be probably 50-50.
You said you worked on some of yourselves during this past week. What was kind of that main focus? Was there different things for different groups, or?
Yeah, two focus. For offense, it was giving the quarterbacks an awful lot of snaps with receivers and getting to a passing game, working on that. And we gave really more of those snaps. We didn't give very many to Easton. We gave most of them to the younger guys. And then on defense, it was just getting back to conventional, run the ball and play action and five-step game, and did a lot of 7-on-7 things to get back into our passing game respect, both offensively and defensively, but particularly defensively since we faced the option. And so we ended up going 4 days. We went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and typically we'd have gone 3 days in an open week, but I thought it was important to get the fourth day, so we did practice for 4 days, and 3 of those days were in pads, so we ended up getting really good work.
What do you see in that team offensively?
Explosive, up-tempo. They want to get as many snaps in as they can. And they had Southern Utah really on their heels, not getting lined up, and that's what an up-tempo spread offense is going to want to do. Really impressed with the quarterback. I think he's a junior college transfer that has put together a couple of really nice games. I think they have really good skill outside at the receiver position, and then I like both the running backs. They do a nice job. So we'll have our hands full just handling the tempo and being able to practice that tempo leading up to Saturday.
North Alabama trailed heading into the fourth quarter of both of those games. So how important is it kind of to get ahead early and put them away?
Well, I don't know if we can do that. We'll see how the game plays out, but it tells me a lot about the resolve of their team too. Both those games were on the road, and they were down, and they found a way to come back in two pretty good environments. And Southern Utah, I know, had a great crowd, and they have had really good success at Southern Utah in the last few years. So for them to get that win in their first game of Division I was obviously a huge lift. And so they're coming in with a lot of confidence. I know that. You win 2 games on the road to start off your Division I era. You're catching all of our eyes for sure. I mean, there's one thing for sure is our kids are definitely not going to look ahead, so to speak. We've got to play really good football, and that's what probably concerns me the most about having an open date is we're kind of back to square one of our first game, so to speak. And I thought we did a really nice job of limiting those pre-snap penalties that you have in the first game. Well, now we had an open week. We have to try to go back to that again and make sure that we focus on ourselves so that we don't beat ourselves.
Chris, what did you see early on in James Kaiser to say he can play all 11 games for us?
He's just a really fast kid on the field. He just plays the game really fast, plays the game, understands the game really well. He'll be on a few more special teams this week. He's not probably ready to crack it for us on defense yet, although he's learning, and he was one of those guys that took a lot of Robbie's reps last week. But we'll see how it goes with James over these next couple weeks. If we can get him enough repetitions on special teams to warrant him playing every game, that's something where we're still looking at, along with a lot of other freshmen.
A big family like he did, and a football family. How much do you think that helped in elevating him to get on the field quicker?
Well, I know his big brothers are on him all the time to make sure that he performs and shows out, and I know his mother's been a big influence on him as well. And it's a great football family, and I know that he wants to make those guys proud. And he's a guy that he's very similar to the demeanor of a Colton Heagle, just very serious, very tough-minded, wants to learn everything about the game that he can. Great sponge, and just loves to practice, loves to compete.
With their quarterback Lopez coach, the numbers he put up that Southern Utah game, dual threat nature, he remind you of anybody that we've played before?
Yeah, no, just your typical dual threat guy that can beat you with his legs and his arm. And I think it was probably Southern Utah was even surprised because he had such limited film that what kind of athlete are you facing? But, they did a lot of different things offensively in that game and had an awful lot of plays. And he put the ball into some tight windows. And then when things broke down, he was able to elude pressure. There was a number of times I thought they had him sacked, and he was able to elude pressure and either make positive plays with his feet or keep his eyes downfield when he scrambled out. I think he's got a bunch of moxie. He's a really good football player that's just scratching the surface of, I'm sure they feel what he can be over the next few years.
What do you think the biggest challenge is moving up? I know that you were in Division II coach.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge moving up from Division II to FCS?
I would say the weekly grind, wear and tear of can you make sure that you can withstand the punishment, withstand all the hits and practices and tight games week in and week out against high-level competition. I think that's what really sets the Valley apart a lot from a lot of the other FCS conferences. The fact that we do have to play great football week in and week out. And that can't be said for probably everybody in all the conferences in FCS. And I think North Alabama will be. It won't be long, and they'll be battling to compete in their league. And are they playoff eligible this year? I don't think they are they? No, they're not eligible this year. So it's really a learning curve this year, but they'll jump into it here in the next couple of years. And it's just the wear and tear every week of trying to battle against FCS teams.
Coach, not for this game, but big picture, if you're going to talk to a coach like their coach, what advice would you give them building a program? Is it the depth thing? Is that
that's a depth in getting people that fit your system, getting people that fit your culture or your mindset of if they're going to be a spread team and a pressure defenses, which through 2 games I've seen that. You need to find a bunch of guys if you're going to blitz and pressure as much as they have on defense. Well, you need to be able to play 7-8 defensive linemen. If you're going to throw the ball and spread people out, you need to have multiple wide receivers. And I think it's more understanding what their system's going to be, understanding what their culture is going to be, and then trying to recruit to that. And obviously, I don't know their league as well as I know our league, but what makes it in their league? Is it the spread style? Is it the pressure defense style? Is it up tempo, or is it like for us? It fits us better to slow things down in the Valley than to be an up tempo team with the kind of guys that we can recruit.
Chris, what have you seen Tanner Volson take the step that now being nationally recognized the past week to go from 9-man to now where he could be an All-American center?
Yeah, I think he is an All-American center, and that it's not just happened overnight. That's the neat thing about Tanner. He's seen a steady growth over the last 4 to 5 years. I remember him coming in as a true freshman, and we're saying, boy, this kid's a really good athlete. Wait till he figures out what we're doing and understands the 11-man game. And slowly he was able to do that over his first few years. And, he's a really smart guy. He's a tough kid. What's underrated is how athletic he is, how well he runs in space. And you freeze a play or watch a play of ours, just watch the linemen, our ability to run in the offensive line. And Tanner's one of those guys that he can get to the next level and block linebackers. And it's been a neat thing to watch him grow over the last 5 years, and with this senior class, as many of those kids that were in our first recruiting class, he's one of those guys that really sticks out as a guy that came in as you knew he had potential, but still, what are you going to do with that potential? And he's done a great job with Coach Kramer of building his body as well as staying really athletic.
Luke Bacon, I think, sent out a picture last weekend. Yeah, weekend off. back in the combine. Is that kind of cool for you to see those guys doing that still? Does that still kind of make you chuckle every once
Yeah,
in a while?
it does, and that's the hardworking blue collar guys that we have that want to go back and help on the farm, go back and help a parent, help relatives, do what they've done their whole lives. And no, it was really cool. I saw that picture. I know some guys went hunting as well, and you just don't get these opportunities in the fall to get away, and that's why another reason why we didn't practice on Saturday. Some based on when the bye week is, some Saturdays we will, and I thought it was good for guys, especially since we had the whole month of August to be able to get away, and it's interesting to see what they all do.
One game, you still sticking with your philosophy on playing the true freshman, just kind of go as comes as it goes?
Yeah, we're going to see where we're at. We're still going to dress, I would say. I think we dressed maybe 12 or 15 last week. We'll probably do the same thing this week. We'll see how things go. If a few more of those guys get in, it's just kind of how the game dictates. And, the one kid that I think Phoenix will continue to play at wide receiver there. But the defensive guys, they have to help us on special teams because right now there's not enough defensive snaps because of the veterans that we have at all three levels of the defense.
Chris, did you get a chance to see the other Valley games on Saturday? A better weekend for the conference?
Yeah, I saw scores. I didn't get a chance to watch very much of Valley teams, but once again, like we talked a couple weeks ago, let's go through the full month that we have of non-conference games and look at the body of work when we're done at that time and see where we shape up. But I know this: it's going to be really competitive in our league, just like it is every year, and people will find their way. If they're struggling, they're going to find their way, and if they're playing well, there's a reason why they're playing well. They have good players, they have quarterbacks returning, they have really good defenses. It's going to be another year in the Valley where you don't know if it's going to be 6-2 that wins the league, if it's going to be 7-1, or if we beat everybody up and it's going to be 5-3. I think there's that much parity in our league.
Chris, what's the biggest improvement you want to see after playing a game bye week and getting back to the grind on Saturday?
Just getting back into the groove and getting back into the routine. Part of the reason we're going to go full pads today and we don't on Mondays to get us back into that routine a little bit quicker, and then to make sure that we don't make the first game mistakes, because this is kind of a first game all over again, to make sure that we don't make those mistakes of the pre-snap penalties, the turnovers, the busted coverages, or something that goes awry on special teams, of us continuing to grow and get better. We played one football game. We played pretty well in that game, but that's not indicative of what this team can be. We have to continue to improve and get better in all phases. Our special teams could be better in some return game or return units that I think didn't get it done against Cal Poly. I think our defense is going to get challenged now from a throwing aspect. You can take the first game and whatever whatever North Alabama is going to get from that Cal Poly game, you can probably throw out because we're not going to line up in that defense anymore. But how well we respond to a passing game. And then offensively, can we continually run the football as well as then set it up with some more play action stuff and some of our 5-step game. And once again, the game will dictate how much we do open it up on offense or not.
You've seen from your team so far? They had that extra practice last week.
Yeah, but once again, we're one competition into it, and
Last week's practice, did you?
yeah, we had a good week of practice in continuing to work on the things that we talked about earlier, just with our pass defense and passing game. But we still these things still have to come through on a Saturday, and it's going to be many Saturdays coming up. It's not going to just be whether we play well or not this Saturday. Boy, there's a lot more things on the horizon. We're in for 10 weeks in a row of. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get nicked up. You're going to have guys missing games. You're going to have guys missing practice over the next 10 weeks. How do you respond to that adversity? Who steps up? That's what we were trying to do last week. Is we're still trying to find the next guy at whatever position behind the guys that you all know about. And that's where we're not ready to step out on the table and say, boy, this is the guy that's going to come in if so-and-so goes down. We're still... And we're going to continue this week to work on that phase to find out the extra guys come November, late October that we're going to have because we inevitably know, guys, somebody's going to get nicked up and miss a game.
Did anybody surprise you once you guys got a chance to look at that film as you guys kind of delved into that Cal Poly stuff and somebody shine a little brighter that maybe you didn't notice during the game?
No, other than the two young defensive ends, Spencer Wagey and Logan McCormick. I thought the series of the game is when we turn the ball over and they have it first and goal at our 8-yard line. You learn an awful lot about your football team when your backs are against the wall and your backups are in there. And they came out there like it was the championship game, and they were not going to give up a score there. And I looked at our defensive front against their first unit offensive line. Our defensive line pushed it back all 4 plays, and I thought Spencer Wagey and Logan McCormick, and they know they're behind 4 seniors, played really good football, and we noticed it well enough that we have to get those guys in the rotation because those 2 kids are really good players.
Chris, have you ever been involved in your coaching career playing 10 straight weeks? Can you remember anything like that?
I'm sure I have, because long ago there weren't any bye weeks and you'd play 11 in a row. No, it gets really hard. It's just the mental grind as well as the physical grind, because from weights to practices to meetings to class, it just becomes wear and tear. And the older guys are probably used to it. We're going to find out an awful lot over the next 4 to 6 weeks about some of the younger guys that are in the mix. Can they last, and can they hang on more mentally than they can physically? We hope we have enough depth that nobody's playing 80 plays, but still just the grind on your mind and mentally of being able to bounce back every week.
63 scholarships right away, first year.
Is that what they did?
Yeah, how important is that when you're looking at it as a coaching standpoint?
Well, they have a lot more players, and you can tell then that's why their special teams, I think, are pretty good. They have a number of skilled kids. I know they have a few transfers, so they were able to boost up their numbers pretty quickly. But I was impressed with their special teams, just how well they ran. And so obviously they found a bunch of extra guys, and some of those guys that you see on teams I didn't see on offense or defense in limited film. I'm sure a lot of them were playing some on both sides of the ball, but I thought they were really good on special teams.
Chris Bourne making the Ravens roster, having a tackle yesterday. Your thoughts on him making the team and chipping in?
Yeah, it's exciting for Chris. I knew that he'd have an opportunity because of the great body of work he'd put in for 4 years here on special teams. And it just goes to show you, and we try to explain it to a lot of our guys, it's not always what you do specifically on the offense and defensive side, but they want to come in and watch you practice. They want to come in and watch special teams film because that's how you're going to make it a lot of times as an undrafted free agent and playing a big skill position, a linebacker, tight end, those type of things that you have to be on teams. And I was happy for Chris. I'm so happy he's with Jerry Rosberg because I know he's getting coached up really well, and there's a ton of Bison pride with Jerry, and excited for Chris.
Click for Chris at some point in his career? I mean, he played a lot more, obviously, at linebacker last year than he did earlier in his career. Did something happen, or did he just get better?
I think from a special teams standpoint, he's always been a really good special teams player for 4 or 5 years, and he took great pride in the special teams and ownership. Vivid play. He's the one that gets a turnover against Illinois State. What year was that for him? A redshirt freshman started the second half. He goes down there and strips a guy and recovers a football, and we get a score to start the second half. And that's a young guy doing it on a big stage that he just understood the importance of special teams, and that's where he excelled at. He played his best football in the playoffs for us last year when we needed him to, because we were down a number of guys at linebacker. He was an outside backer, had to move to inside because we were down Levi, and I thought he made 3 or 4 plays in the championship game that if we don't have Chris Bourne, we probably didn't win the national championship. But that was the kind of guy he was. I mean, he was a playmaker that did whatever he could for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. Really happy for Chris.